Welcome to the Gottesdienst crowd, where we foster confessional integrity, liturgical preservation, and preaching that doesn't stink. We believe that the historic liturgy of the divine service is more than mere cobwebs of antiquity, but it is a true treasure of the Church, to be dusted off and brought down from her attic to be enjoyed. So let's get dusting.
Welcome back to the Gottesdienst crowd. This is Jason Broughton. Today we have back with us Dave Peterson. Welcome back, Dave.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We are looking at the Gospel reading and probably some of the other readings for the Vigil of Easter. The Gospel comes from Matthew 28, verses 1 to 7, and I will read that in the English Standard Version. Now, after the Sabbath, toward the dawn of the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. And for fear of him, the guards trembled and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he has risen, as he said. Come, see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples that he has risen from the dead, and behold, he is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him. See, I have told you." Okay, so I'm afraid to ask for the context because you're going to say, well, it's Easter, blah, blah, blah.
I actually think there is a little bit of context to notice here.
Okay.
So I won't, because it's somewhat what is unique to Matthew, the guards.
Mm-hmm.
So right at the end of 27, we have the priest going to ask Pilate for an army. He says, no, you have your own guard. He means, of course, the temple guard. And then they go and secure the tomb, sealing it, and then setting the guard. So that's the immediate context. And that does matter because it's not mentioned in the others. And we have the guards then shaking for fear and becoming like dead men. And then not too much after the reading, we have those same guards going to the chief priests, who then go to the Sanhedrin, and then they give them the money and tell them to say that they were asleep and that they will protect them for this really capital offense if they'll tell this lie. So at least in that sense, there's, I think, a little bit of context because the guards are more prominent if it's taken in context.
Yeah. Do we have from the other Gospels, and I can't remember off the top of my head, who this other Mary is?
I don't. Is it ever said? I guess I've always assumed it's Mary, the mother of our Lord, right?
The notes in various places say it's the mother of James and Joseph. So is that...
Doesn't that mean, isn't that the way of saying that it's
the mother of Jesus?
I thought so. I'm exposing myself here. I don't know.
Why wouldn't they say Mary, the mother of Jesus? Why would they say the other Mary?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm unprepared for the question. there's probably something I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of things I don't know.
Well, I know there are things that I don't know.
I thought it was Mary, the mother of our Lord, but I don't know who else would it be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are, of course, it's a common name, but
yeah,
I think certainly tradition is that it's Mary, the mother of our Lord.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
What's the significance of the earthquake? Because you get that earthquake also in Matthew at the crucifixion, right? Which opens the tombs and causes the veil of the temple to be torn.
Right. And you get an earthquake in a way when the wise men come to Jerusalem looking for the King of the Jews. The whole city it shakes. You have that also. That word's repeated. The word for earthquake is just that's what the guards do.
Yeah.
They also quake. It's the same word. So yeah, it's some kind of violence that's being done to the earth, and it seems to me that the earth itself is held accountable. Sort of like if an animal kills a man, he will not be held innocent. And this graves are wrong. They're not supposed to be dead people. and the earth is not supposed to swallow up our dead like they did the rebels of Korah or the sea, right?
Yeah.
So the earthquake is forcing it to let loose, and there is a kind of malice in the broken creation, a kind of malice in cemeteries, though they're transitioned, or that's what's the word I'm looking for, transformed, sorry.
Yeah.
In the resurrection.
We can't use that word anymore.
No, we can't. Sorry, transformed by the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, and now the graves are sanctified. They're not Sheol. They're something greater. Now they're a sleeping place, a place of repose and waiting. But here, I think it is this idea that the stone that is sealing the body of Jesus in the grave is kind of malicious and has to be broken open. The angel rolls it away. And then I think the angel sits on the stone as a sign of derision, that he subdues the stone and he mocks the stone. You thought you could keep God in the grave.
Yeah.
So I think the earthquake is
it a sign too
important-
of conquering?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You know, that, we sit on thrones. We have
Right.
so he's the king over the grave.
Or you sit on your little brother, I mean, it's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
There's this kind of, it's a domination.
Yeah. And is that an image used in the Old Testament as well, do you think? Because you get the under his feet, right?
Right.
That's a prominent image. But what about the sitting?
Yeah, I can only think of sitting on thrones other than this one. Sitting in judgment, sitting at the gate. But those have to do with, typically with dispensing justice and wisdom. So,
Well, in this
not
case,
so much
they
conquering.
are.
Right.
Right? Death gets its due, justice.
Yeah.
And then he speaks to the women.
Right. He doesn't speak to the guards.
Yeah, that was interesting. That popped out at me.
Yeah.
Is
The
there
guards.
a connection then to the transfiguration with the lightning clothing white as snow?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is a place where the veil is thin. So I really like this way of thinking, that there are times in our lives and in the scriptures when the veil between the spiritual world and the material world on this side of glory is thin. And basically it's when angels show up. When angels are visible, the curtain has been made thin. So you could think of when, Elisha's servant sees this, or whenever the angels show up. And in the life of Jesus, we've got the angels that announce his birth. And then we've got an angel sent to comfort Jesus after the temptation, an angel sent to comfort Jesus after Gethsemane.
Yeah.
And then here, right, at the resurrection, angels are prominent. I think where, in sort of contrast, on Good Friday, the veil is at its thickest.
Yeah.
You can only see the glory of God on the cross by faith.
Yeah.
And here, we are looking forward to the time, and the resurrection is foreshowing us a time when there will be no veil, and to live by faith and to live by sight will be simultaneous, will be synonymous.
Yeah. Well, and you get that picture too in Hebrews 11, right? The cloud of witnesses that are by faith, who never necessarily see what has been promised, but believe it nevertheless. They look like a suffering lot, and yet that is their glory.
Right.
That is their victory.
Right. So the seeing, so before we get to the speaking, so that veil thing and, the appearance of angels and the announcements, hearing also, but the women go to see the tomb, right? They're not going to see Jesus. They think he's dead. And then what they see is an angel and a space where he was, right? And then the angel says to them, see where they lay the body, right? And then behold, which means literally see or look, right? He is going before you, and then you will see him, right? So now you just see this empty space. You came to see a tomb. Instead, you see me in an empty space, but you're going to see him in the future. And then again, behold or look, I I see you. Or I told you.
So is there a connection then to what we see in church, where it's not empty per se, but it's not, we see him, but veiled in bread and wine.
Exactly. Right. We're still in the place where, even though we're celebrating Easter, in many ways, we're living in Good Friday.
Mm-hmm.
We're living by faith, and this is proleptic, and we're insistent upon it. But in some sense, the world we live in, we don't see angels, but we believe in them, and we live by hearing, not by seeing.
Yeah, you get this impression that God's hiding in the Old Testament in things is actually revelatory of him actually being there.
Right.
So you've got this like clothing of him in the cloud and the fire, the burning bush. If it weren't for those things, we wouldn't see anything at all.
Right. So we see by faith.
So in the rehearsal that you get throughout the vigil of these, major themes, do you see this still happening?
Yeah, I think we're being taught how to interpret not only the Bible, but our own lives and nature. So we're learning to see, or being told to see, God's presence and God's promises being fulfilled in our lives now.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, the sun comes up in the morning is an act of grace, and it only comes up because there are believers in the world. God sustains this creation for the sake of his church. And so those with, ears to hear, let them hear what's true. So let's look for, I think the weight of this exegetically, verses 1-7 is on what the angel says. So what he says, well, first of all, the guards are not only spoken to, but they also are incapable of speech. Jesus lives, but the guards are like dead men, and they are dead men in not only in how they look and behave in response to this, but then in how they act, that they willfully engage in lies. When they do speak, they lie, like their father, the devil. The angel ignores them, but he speaks to the women. He tells them, first of all, don't be afraid. He doesn't tell the guards to not be afraid. They are right to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
But the women are wrong to be afraid. He's there, he's there to announce this good news, right? You came to see a tomb. Here it is empty. And then you've got this, he was crucified, right? You come seeking Jesus, which is also sort of a seeing word. You were seeking Jesus. He was crucified. Now that is a passive perfect, which should be translated in the present tense. But it's hard to do in English because it sounds so weird. He is crucified. But I think the way we should translate it as you are seeking Jesus, the crucified one.
Okay.
Because this is that thing again, right? Like it is written in the same grammatical form, right? It has to do with something that happened in the past that has an ongoing, enduring reality.
Right.
So it's not that he was crucified, rather that this is the enduring quality of the Messiah. We preach Christ crucified. That doesn't mean he's being crucified presently. It means that his crucifixion is his defining reality. And this is the way that he loved the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I would really like to translate it as you are seeking Jesus, the crucified one. He is the crucified one. But then, of course, he rose. And this is kind of interesting. This is an aorist. So it doesn't use the perfect passive. It probably could have. But instead, the aorist has this emphasis upon completion, a one-time act that is done forever, that never needs to be done again. Right? So you've got this sort of, you could almost translate this, it wouldn't be literal, but it's like he won, right? So it's not he is winning, it's over, right? He is the crucified one. That is the defining ongoing reality. But in the end, it's over. He won. It's done. He rose. There's nothing more to say.
Yeah.
And then you got one more kind of grammatical.
That's crazy to me that they don't have it in reverse.
I know. It seems like it should be reversed, but the thing that matters, this is the way that he loves the world. And we cannot approach the risen Jesus Christ apart from his gift, right? Apart from the giving of himself. And we do preach Christ crucified. at the same time, right? This is Christus Victor. I mean, he won. He is the living God. And then
Well, and it demonstrates, I think, then that the victory is not just in the resurrection, but primarily in the crucifixion.
Yeah, I don't like the use of primarily there.
Okay. Well, I
But
guess
I get it.
it is giving it preeminence, a lasting quality that this is the glory of God. This is the victory.
This is his love. Well, and I mean, the point of he rose is he died, right? I mean, it's no big deal if I tell you that I rose out of bed this morning. I mean, you're like, okay, great job. Who cares? I mean, this is the significance here is he was dead. He should not have risen in terms of the way that the world goes, right? Dead people don't rise, but Jesus did. And I mean, he won. It's over. Then you get
I know, but I guess my point is it emphasizes the substitutionary atonement part.
Yes, it does.
That he was crucified, but he didn't deserve to be crucified.
Right. He's vindicated in this. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Then we get to, which I've been trying to get to, the present tense. This is fascinating to me. I never noticed this before, that he is on the move, right? He is going before you to Galilee. This is like Aslan is on the move, right? He's not, sitting around waiting for something. And he is active in creation and working out the salvation of the world and saving people. So you came to see a tomb. There's nothing here to see, but you will see him. And he's not waiting. I think that's just a kind of marvelous thing. He's going. So you've got three tenses in those three verbs. You've got the perfect passive, the aorist, and then the present tense. Mm-hmm. And I think you could make a sermon out of that.
Oh, yeah.
You've really got this. Here's this enduring reality, this character of the God who gives himself for the life of the world, who has won, right? He is the winner, and he is active, right? He's moving. And of course, to Galilee also it's the expansion of the gospel to the Jews. I mean, to the Gentiles, right? He's moving into the world. He's not going to stop in Galilee. He's moving on to Rome and then to Gaul and then to Britain and then to America.
Yeah.
Skipping right over Germany.
Because they're into novelty, says
That's
Luther.
right. They're the barbarians.
Yes. So how does this square then with the Easter Vigil? Because I've always seen the Easter Vigil of somewhat emphasizing God's rest in the tomb.
Oh, really?
Beginning with the creation narrative. I mean, it is the sixth day. It is the Sabbath.
I think Saturday morning, we have a service, a matins on Holy Saturday in the morning. Yeah. And for sure, that's the emphasis there. I think at the Easter Vigil, it's not about the rest. Okay. I mean, it could be, but I think it's the Christus Victor.
Okay.
And I think that's why the Matthew thing with the guards being as though they're dead and the sitting on the stone, the seal being broken, because this is the beginning of the resurrection, not the end of the rest, right?
Right.
I mean they're related. It's not like it's one thing necessarily or another, but
now
we
talked about this before and you hated it. But the angel of the Lord here, that's an actual angel, not Jesus being hidden from them. Like later when you have Mary Magdalene doesn't know who it is.
Right. I can't tolerate that idea at all. I still can't.
I don't know if you've got like the angel in this position of derision. You've got the appearance like lightning and clothing white as snow.
I do not like it still. I forgot about that. Did you ever do any research on it?
No. I got a couple emails. One that was like, "It's good that you brought it up, but yeah, I hate it also." And the other one was like, "Yeah, Peterson's right." So I get those kind of emails a lot. So
it just can't be. I don't. It feels completely out of character.
All right, so it can't be. Why can't it be?
I don't know.
Is it because it would go against the other accounts? that talk about an angel?
I mean, the other accounts are so varied. I mean, it's hard to find any agreement about these angels in these accounts.
Well,
How
you have
many
an
are there?
agreement that there are angels.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And this would be the only account then without a created angel. But it feels to me that it just misses. It doesn't seem to jibe with the actual flow of the story and the context. I mean, he says Jesus is not here.
Yeah.
He is not here. There you go. There's my exegetical proof.
That's good. That's good enough. I kind of want it to be, though.
I mean, I see the kind of correspondence, but I don't
All right,
think
so
it
then
is.
what do we make of the fact that there is not the angel of the Lord, but an angel of the Lord that appears like Jesus at the Transfiguration? What's with that?
I mean, they also have something of the image of God.
So it's a reflection of this glory that he now has in the resurrection?
Right. And they're also showing something of what our own future state will be, even though we will have bodies, right? But I think the angel is just, again, so he talks to the women because he's on their team, right? He doesn't talk to the guards because he's not on their team. And so he's showing them what the reality is and showing them what the future is in order to encourage them and keep them from being afraid. Oh, by the way, we don't have verse 8 read, but verse 8 says that they leave the tomb quickly. He says, do it quickly. And they leave with fear and great joy. So they don't quite get it, which is interesting too. I think it's sort of too bad that 8's not included in the reading, because they are the difference between the women and the guards is that the women have faith, but the difference between the women and the angel is that they also have doubt. They're still on this side of glory in their weakness, and
that's when Jesus meets them,
right
after that, and then uses a form of the angelos, the verbal form, ap angelata, that's it, ap angelata, to tell the brothers, tell my brothers.
Oh yeah, he sure does, right? Yeah, that I'm going into Galilee. Yeah,
and that's what the angel says too.
Right,
uses the same verb.
And you do have this that he tells them. Where is it? What verse number is it? Doesn't he tell them to rejoice, or does he just greet them? Let's see.
He just greets them.
No, he says karete. No, he's saying karete. He says rejoice. And then they
9?
come. Yeah, verse 9, sorry. And then they come. Yeah.
Yeah, they translate that as greetings.
Oh, greetings. That's terrible.
It's rejoice.
It should be rejoice here for sure. Yeah. Greetings. That's terrible. Good morning. Yeah.
Greetings, Earthling.
Anyway, that context is useful to sort of see their weakness, and yet the fact that they're still used. It is kind of. I mean, the whole thing is funny too that he sends them to tell the apostles, and then I can't remember which one of the synoptics. Like they don't tell the apostles as it's recorded. In fact, they tell the apostles that his body's been taken away. And I think that maybe they tried to tell them that Jesus was risen. They saw an angel and they don't believe him, or they're not responding appropriately. And I just wonder if Mary Magdalene tells this little lie on purpose to get them to
go to the tomb.
Yeah. And then, of course, she goes back and then mistakes. I mean, there's a lot going on there. Anyway, the vigil. So I think that the vigil has a somewhat, maybe not completely, but at least almost unique position for me. More than Christmas Day, the vigil is really for the true believers, right? Yeah. And, it's a difficult service to come to after a long week of difficult services, and people are pretty tired. It's late at night. All the people at the Easter Vigil are coming back the next day without exception. So they're, they are, I think, I say they're true believers. I shouldn't joke like that. I mean, they are true believers, but it doesn't mean there aren't others. They are the people that are probably the best catechized and the most outwardly committed to the church.
Mm-hmm.
And they come in the kind of best spirit of things. I think that they ought to be treated as such. That this, if you were ever going to have a sermon without any law, which probably you shouldn't, but if you ever were, it would be this one. That this is, if there's law in this sermon, it ought to be law like unto Chrysostom's sermon, where it's sort of like, well, you guys haven't been good enough, but you know what? Who cares?
You're right.
Because there is this sense of celebration. Good Friday is a very sober day. I don't find Good Friday, I don't like the German Karfreitag, because I don't find Good Friday exactly sad, or certainly not guilt. I feel different. I don't feel guilt in a kind of personal way on Good Friday the way I do when I've done something really bad and I'm really ashamed of myself, right? When I come to Good Friday, I'm not there sort of wrestling with the fact that, I drank too much and insulted Jackie or whatever, and now I really feel stupid and ashamed of myself.
Yeah.
Hypothetically, right? So, that's guilt. I mean, I know that feeling. I've experienced it many times in my life. But at Good Friday, I'm not working myself into some sort of emotional guilt frenzy at all. And I don't think we should. I mean, I come to Good Friday, and I think our people do, as believers, right? Loving the death of Jesus Christ and what he's done for us there. But it is a very, very sober service, right? Very somber, very serious, very reflective. I mean, it is penitential, but penitential doesn't have to mean, Luther in his cell whipping himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that sobriety and kind of seriousness and somber tone, because it deserves that. I think that's the right response of reverence to contemplation of the very details and the agony that our sins cost our Lord. But Good Friday, the Vigil then, in kind of contrast to Good Friday, is, I think, really ideally, by the time you get to the end of the service, when this gospel's read, a kind of euphoria.
Yeah.
Intoxicated, praise, joy. I think so. The sermon, ideally, should reflect that tone of euphoria.
Right.
And I'm not saying that there isn't any law to be preached. There can be, but I think in this instance, for this particular group, we should be very careful that there's no anger in it.
Right.
Right. And I think this is something it's hard to put our finger on, but it does matter in terms of communication, and it's pathos, right, in terms of rhetoric, but having the right emotional content to the words that you're saying. And some of that's word choice, but some of it's also tone, body language, facial expressions, context, right? So it kind of all comes together.
Yeah.
But I do think it's something that we can take a little bit of control of and be conscious of and deliberate. I don't mean that we would become, pantomime actors, from the silent movie age.
Yeah, obviously.
But I think that to just consciously say, right, and to think when you're writing and crafting this sermon, and before you deliver it and while you're delivering it, just to be consciously thinking to yourself, I love these people. These are great people, and they're here for the right reasons.
Right.
And this is the greatest thing ever, right? And Jesus loves them. And so to kind of imbue your words with that is, of all the times to do it, more than Easter morning, I think, is this service.
Yeah. So it sounds like Good Friday in some ways is a bittersweet occasion.
Yeah. Well said.
And then by the time we get to the Vigil, this is just all sweet and joy.
Yeah, I think so. Because nobody's coming to the Vigil without coming to the other stuff.
Right.
So it's not as though, you're not going to have some homeless guy stumble in who's never heard the gospel, right? Or some antinomian hedonist that doesn't know Jesus died, we're not dealing with, that Oprah or something. We're dealing with, in some ways, right, these most pious, devout, well catechized Christians who have endured these long services and heard the whole passion and sat through all of that. And of course, already in this service, sat through quite a bit
Correct.
as well. Because the service does start very sober, though it's different. I mean, it has a kind of anticipation in it. It's like children at Christmas. I mean, they know what's coming. And there is an excitement about it. But it does start out quiet, in the dark with the candles, and then these, the long readings,
right?
The baptism, the litany.
And confirmations. That sort of thing.
Confirmations. I don't do any of that. I gave up on that. I tried that a long time ago. Tried to have a baptism once or twice. Tried a confirmation once. I don't recommend it. Do you do it?
No, we just do the remembrance of those.
That's what we do. So the problem for me, and maybe this is my liturgical fussiness, probably is, but the problem is that this is a complicated and a long service, and bringing in people that, these extra people to be up there where I need them to do something at the right time, it's not helpful. Mm-hmm. Whether it's somebody to be confirmed or a family to be baptized. And the baptism is not at the beginning of the service.
Right.
So, if they're late, I can't get to them. I can't talk to them. I mean, it's too much for me. It's already so many moving pieces. Of course, it'd be glorious, to actually have an actual baptism or these things, but I don't want to do it because it's too complicated, and I want to control the service. And, on a Sunday morning, I know how to handle a baptism and a confirmation, but not with all this.
Yeah. And I'm also not wanting to have people wait for that.
Well, that's right, too. I'm just kind of afraid they won't show up. So I had a baptism, and they didn't show up. They got there late. And then, we're trying to, I got to, during the hymn, go out and talk to them and try to figure it out. It wasn't good. But it wasn't, it was fine.
So how do you bring in and work in these other readings? Do you do them all? Is that a good suggestion to do them all? Or to work towards that? Or, you start with the minimum and just stick with that?
I'm at the minimum. We only do 4. We do the creation reading, the flood, the Exodus, and then the fiery furnace, and then we go into the Benedici. I think it's enough. I know in a way it'd be glorious to hear all of these, but again, boy, we've been in church every day for all of Lent, and we've heard all 4 of the Passions completely in the past week, in less than a week. It's a lot. I think it's enough. I think those. Of course, it'd be great to read the whole Old Testament. But where are you gonna cut it off? And they're long readings. It's not like when I say the creation, it's all of Genesis 1 into Genesis 2. The flood is chapters, most of chapter 7, chapter 8, and chapter 9. Mm-hmm. It's significantly long readings even by our normal standards. It's not like a normal pericope.
Yeah, I
think it's enough. I think you got to be a little bit sensitive to people's physical limitations and trust that, this isn't your only chance to catechize them or their only chance to read the Bible. Right. So, I'm sure. We do have Holy Communion with it. Do you guys have communion?
For the vigil?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, some people don't.
Yeah. I have heard that some people do all of the readings, but then have like little mini sermons after each of the readings.
Oh my.
5 minutes tops.
Well, yeah, but if you do all the readings, that's like 12. That's an hour. If they're 5 minutes each, that's an hour worth of preaching. And that's
That's a heavy lift, isn't it?
That's a heavy lift. I think you're asking too much of people. Sure, it's probably fun for the preacher, but I think I think this was Todd Peppercorn said this to me a long time ago. Maybe it wasn't, but I think it was. We were talking about hymns, and he said something to the effect of, well, we don't want to choose hymns in such a way that the people don't actually have any joy in church. And I thought it was a good insight at the time. He was basically saying, look, I get it. You love these Lutheran chorales, and I do too. And I think they belong in our worship service. But at the same time, I mean, if you're just overwhelming the people, if they're not used to them, if they don't know them, and if they don't get to sing anything that they actually enjoy singing, all of a sudden you've just turned church into torture, right?
Yeah.
Or a kind of cold academic exercise without emotion. And that's really not our goal.
Yeah. Kleinig told me once something to the effect of, because I think we were talking about this same very thing. And he said, Jason, you don't want to change their piety. You just want to enlarge it.
Yeah. Oh, good. Evanson always said, don't take anything away, just add things. Mm-hmm. Which is similar kind of idea. But some things need to be taken away.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah.
But that is what Evanson said. So,
well, I think they're, in the context of probably how it was given was assuming that it isn't contrary to the Bible.
Right.
Well, and I think that would stand for Kleinig's too. Assuming that this isn't contrary to our confession completely, we can abide those things. Not trying to change their piety, but enrich it.
Well, I guess I want a little stricter standard than just not contrary to the Bible. But it is I wouldn't be dogmatic about it, but I do think at least eventually, as their piety is enlarged, hopefully it's pushing things out that aren't as helpful.
Yeah.
And they're learning to love things that will actually cause their former love for other things to grow a bit cold, and that would be good.
Yeah.
So, we do want to train their imaginations with this and guide them into what's best.
Sure.
With of course sensitivity, and respect. I've probably told this story for. I got really yelled at by Marquardt one time. It was one of the worst. Because I loved him so much and respected him so much, it was horrific. We had just reintroduced the Q party. In fact, I'm sure Todd Peppercorn was involved. Speaking of Todd Peppercorn, and we had done all sorts of things, in it that were irreverent and probably not. They were wrong. We shouldn't have done it, but we did. We were kids, and the Q party is this big irreverent party at the seminary. Q is the imaginary source, the fifth source for the Gospels, or the fourth source for the Gospels that nobody can find. It's German for a well or a fountain, Quella. And so the critics have this made up source that we can't find, and so the seminary students pretend to have found it. We found Q. We found the thing that has the source of all these stuff in the Gospels that the critics say.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to all be about the professors and the classmates and all this stuff. So it's a great kind of joke, but it gets a little ribald at times and irreverent. And we had, anyway, in the midst of this, somebody had rewritten words for Amazing Grace. And so that Amazing Grace was a hymn making fun of the professors and students. And afterwards, then Marquardt dressed us down for it. I don't know if Peppercorn was there for that, but I was. And he said, that may not be the strongest hymn, but it has been used by God to comfort his children. and such a thing deserves our respect and should not be mocked. And I just felt I was totally ashamed of myself because I knew he was right. And because I knew that, people that are dear to me, who are very pious Christians, love that hymn and would have been heavily insulted and hurt if they'd heard what we did to it,
right?
Including my own mother. So,
right.
So I was like, yeah, I wouldn't want my mother to hear me say act this way.
Yeah.
And I'm ashamed that Kurt did. And so I think, that for me was a huge lesson of, along with what you're talking about, Kleinig, don't mock the people's piety and the things that they love. And recognize that you might judge them rightly as being objectively weak, but that doesn't mean they're useless or that God hasn't actually worked through them.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say two other things. I wanted to talk about, I guess we kind of did talk about the stones and the shaking, but the stone thing is kind of, So he's sitting on the stone. The people that bring the woman caught in adultery want to pick up stones to throw at her, and no one will do it. Stephen gets stoned. At Gethsemane, he's a stone's throw away from the disciples.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just wonder if there's something to this stone holding and then of course the stones that would praise God.
Right. Fabricius and I did a podcast on stones and rocks.
All right, I will check it out. There you go.
But I don't remember all the things that he focused on. I would like to do one on earthquakes with him.
Oh yeah.
And and we're planning to do one on the use of cholia, womb or belly.
Oh
in the
yeah,
Old
that'll be a good
Testament,
one.
New Testament. So
You could do one on Sheol and tombs and graves. Make that one category.
yeah, we did one on caves, and it
caves.
touched upon
Yeah.
graves, but not Sheol. I don't
Right.
think.
Caves are different, but there's a relation, sure. All right. One other thing I wanted to bring up was this poem. There's actually a lot of good poetry on Easter. But here's one of my favorites from William Dunbar. This is in English. He wrote it in Scots, which is you can sort of understand it, but I can't pronounce it and I can't completely understand it. So here's an English translation of it, and I'll just read parts of it. You could look it up. It's titled "Done is a battle on the dragon black." And that's the first line. Done is a battle on the dragon black. Our champion Christ has confounded his force. The gates of hell are broken with a crack. The sign triumphal raised is the cross. The devils tremble with hideous voice. The souls are redeemed and to the bliss can go. Christ with his blood our ransom does endorse. Surrexit Dominus de sepulchro, which means the Lord is risen from the grave or from the tomb. There's just a lot of great stuff in here. But I want to read you then, that's 5 stanzas. I'll just read you this last stanza because I think lots of this could be brought into a sermon without reading the whole thing. You could pull some phrases out of it or maybe a part of a stanza quite well. The last stanza in particular. The foe is chased, the battle is done, the prison broken, the jailers fled and banished, the war is gone, confirmed is the peace, the fetters loosed and the dungeon emptied, the ransom made, the prisoners redeemed, the field is won, overcome is the foe, despoiled of the treasure that he held. Surrexit Dominus de sepulchro. There's also a T.S. Eliot, I can't remember where it is, where he talks about the wounded doctor. Do you remember that?
No.
The wounded doctor is a great line. Maybe it's the wounded physician. It probably is.
Okay.
But this idea that anyway, there's a lot of great poetry. So you could spend a little bit of time. This is a night that deserves poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Chrysostom's sermon is pretty poetic.
Yeah. Do you ever bring in the exultet or the proper preface stuff?
Yes, I do, especially the preface.
Yeah, because this is the night.
This is the night is powerful. Yeah, all that repetition, right? But also, I know both the exultet and the exultet, of course, is a call to rejoice.
Yeah,
and I never thought about it before being that's what Jesus says to the women.
Mm-hmm.
But of course it is. So, yeah. And then that long preface is such a beautiful rehearsal. Yeah. And especially I would have exactly the same thing you said. I love that. This is the night when innocence is restored to the fallen, right? This is the night when man is reconciled to God. That's
joy is given to the downcast.
It's really fun to sing. I have to work pretty hard at it, but
the singing of it?
Better. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm not a musician, and these things require a lot of work and don't always go as well as I wish. But
correct. The exultet is, I find, easier than the proper preface. Maybe because it's just shorter.
I've never sung it because it's always been deemed too difficult, and we have such competent people to sing.
Yeah,
so.
I'm it.
Right. Well, then I'm sure it's lovely. Yeah, you do everything probably.
Yeah. I mean, I have some acolytes, but I'm doing all the readings and
Oh
all
yeah.
the major singing.
Funny. I don't do any. I mean, I would enjoy doing that in a way, but I'm glad I don't have to.
When there
That
used to be other congregations in the circuit that didn't have that, I would ask them to come and help. But now they're doing them, and it's like I lost all my
Yeah.
help.
But that's good they're doing them.
Yeah, no, I'm not
No, I know.
super upset about it. But and then when we had some seminarian, a seminarian who was from our congregation and he was back, he helped, and he's got a really great voice and a good ear, so he would take some of the singing for me.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, people just will not. It'd be lovely in a way to have these joint services. It'd be a perfect kind of opportunity for the circuits to come together. But they just
Won't travel.
People just won't come out. That they
want
only
it in
want to
their
go
own
to their own
place.
church, which is not. I don't know if we talked about this. This kind of reality of like these podcasts and these celebrity pastors, which I mean, in some sense, we could almost be considered that C level or D level, maybe. But right.
Yeah.
So why are we doing this? Do people compare then? I mean, think about the kind of superstars of the Lutheran world, Brian Wolfmueller or Todd Wilkin, or do those guys then, because they're so talented and so articulate and so clever and so diligent in putting this material out, do they get compared to the local pastor who just doesn't have the same gifts and so forth? Well, first of all, I think we can't go back in time. I mean, this is the reality that we live in an age with the internet. But the other thing is, I think that surprisingly, I mean, wonderfully, the people don't really do that. I mean, it happens a little bit, but it's not widespread. Mostly the people understand, just instinctively, that they need to go to church and to their own church, and that their pastor is their pastor. So, if they can't make it on a Sunday morning because, they're in the hospital or whatever, they might watch the YouTube of Brian Wolfmueller, but first they watch the YouTube video of their own church. Because even though, it's not as good maybe, and it isn't, and it's not just because, I would go to my own church because there's real people and I get communion and so forth. The vast majority of them, they will listen to the broadcast from their own church first.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful, and I think it's divine. I mean, I think the Holy Spirit has told them to do that, and they're following His guidance rightly. So, now it'd be nice. So I think there is something that recognizes this is my family, this is my congregation, this is where God is present for me, and these are the people that I have. And it's fun maybe to watch, Martha Stewart cook on TV for a little while, but I want to go to an actual Thanksgiving dinner with my family, imperfect though they are. And that's the way that they rightly see their congregations, their families. That's why they want to watch the video. Yeah. I'm not saying there's no abuses of these things, because there obviously is, but I'm kind of surprised there isn't more. It's not as bad as it seems like it could be. And I think that, so I also
think we spend an inordinate time worrying that it is happening.
Yeah, maybe.
In other words, in this day and age, we should be thankful for people being willing to be put under the microscope in a very public way, and not carpet them.
Yeah.
And, I wish that there were more people doing this.
Well, it is the world we live in. I mean, you can't escape it. You can't escape the internet. You can't escape these things. And it is, there is goodness that comes out of it. We have a kind of connectedness and an awareness of one another that we never had before. It brings with it difficulties and dangers, but it is also a blessing. But I love that they won't come to a circuit service, but they'll go to their own. I love that your people want you to do the whole thing. That's your job and that's your role, and they want you to do it, and that's great. And there is part of you that wants to do it, right? You want to do, I always say this, or I often say this when we have funerals, and I'll say something to the effect of, when people say thanks for doing that or whatever, and I'll be like, well, I don't want anybody else to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this funeral, because I loved this person and I wish he was still with us, in the flesh. But but man alive, I don't want someone else doing this. Right. I mean, this is I don't want to do it, but I'm going to. I want to do my duty.
Yeah.
And I want to provide this, so.
Anything on specific ceremonies? I mean, do you change paraments in the middle?
We do.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, when you're by yourself, it'd be pretty tough. It's not that easy for us, frankly. I mean, it takes quite a bit of rehearsal and coordination. Mm-hmm. It's a powerful ceremony, and I think it's done pretty well. But it's certainly not simple. So it does have to be adjusted to local resources and abilities and so forth.
Do you think the vigil was something done at the big cathedral mother church in the city, not necessarily done by each individual parish?
That's a good question. I do not know. I mean, I know it. The only thing I really know is that it disappeared kind of from Lutheranism at some point. Though I think the Missal Project boys have it.
Yeah,
it was at least in the books, as a something to do.
Yeah,
but it did disappear, and then it also disappeared in the Roman Catholic Church, and then came back with Vatican II. Mm-hmm. It does seem like the sort of thing that wouldn't have necessarily been for every parish. Mm-hmm. But again, right, we do have. I mean, all of our parishes have more capacity and resources than the medieval church did. They all have they all have copy machines. Mm-hmm. They all have. I mean, they can actually print this stuff out, and they can find examples of it, and right, they have access to church supply catalogs, and I mean,
yeah, but right? we don't necessarily always have the personnel.
No, we don't always have the personnel, and they didn't either. But they also probably didn't have the ability to, have all the books have everybody to have the thing printed out,
yeah,
and have all this kind of other stuff, or have a video they could watch to see how to do it. And I mean, I would commend it to every parish, no matter how small.
Okay.
I think it's worth doing as well as you can, and make the accommodations you need to. But I think it's so powerful. We don't. What time do you do it?
We have a Saturday night service every Saturday, so we just do it at that time, which is way early. It's at 5:30.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think we're this summer we're moving our Saturday night service to Wednesday night. So I think by the time we hit, if we stick with that through the whole year, I'm hoping that then we can push back, and I would probably put it at 7 or 7:30.
Yeah. The problem with that is it's light out.
Yeah, but we only have really one organist,
right,
and we have a sunrise.
Oh, you have a sunrise. I don't have a sunrise,
and
so that's
to ask her
yes,
to stay so late and then to come for the 6 a.m. sunrise. That's just a lot to ask of her.
Oh, I think that's totally fair, and I think that's a perfectly compassionate and reasonable accommodation.
Yeah.
We don't do ours. I mean, I think the idea of doing it midnight is impractical because similar, not as extreme as you, but the same thing. We're all coming back in the morning, and it's been a long week. And so we do ours at 8 because we're trying it. We want it to be dark.
Yeah.
But that is, also, of course, early. And then we don't do all, I mean, we do make accommodations. I also don't do you start the fire outside?
I have once, and now I just have a pre-lit candle that I bring in from outside.
And I know why. Because I don't go out. Doing stuff outdoors is, there's just too much you're not in control of.
Back to my too much movement.
Exactly.
Like if you get
wind
a decent
traffic,
yes.
Yeah. The whole thing, it adds such a complication. So I get it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful idea. But yeah, to me, it's not. It's way too, and it could be raining, the wind could be blowing, there's police cars driving by with their sirens. The whole thing is, somebody's got to stay out there, put the thing out. It's messy. So I don't do that either.
Yeah, and smoky, and then people are coughing.
Right. So I guess I'm not the. I mean, we all make our own accommodations, but so I get there are people around here that would like it to be at midnight. They'd like all 12 readings. They'd like
Yeah.
us to start outdoors. Then they'd like us to go downstairs and have a big feast. And then come back 3 hours later for
Yeah.
Easter breakfast. And
Yeah, and you just can't do it all, not right away.
I
And
think
sometimes it happens slowly. Like
that's right.
I'm not going to force this issue, but I could see eventually the vigil replacing the sunrise. But they have had a sunrise here longer probably than I've been alive. And that thing is, people love that service.
Right.
And even though it's not the best of attended, it's still pretty well attended. And I just can't take that from them.
No, what I did in my first church, they had a sunrise, and I just made the sunrise the vigil.
Okay.
We did the vigil at 6 a.m. So that was my solution there. I don't know what they do now, but yeah, I mean, I think you got to make the best of it.
Yep.
Again, so what are you going to do? It's all adiaphora. You want ceremonies that confess the best and clearest and the most appropriate. At the same time, we got to live in the real world.
Right. With real people. And we want to enlarge their piety and enrich it, not necessarily just like take a sledgehammer to it.
Right. Yeah, and not belittle them.
Right, yeah.
And it's the flesh is weak, and especially if they're not behaving well, right? I mean, if you're trying to teach them these things and they're responding with whatever, shock and anger and disgust and accusations that you're Catholic and so forth, it can be, you got to subdue the ego and keep working and not respond in kind.
Now, so you mentioned earlier about the tenor of this service that is one of joy and rejoicing and victory, and that tenor should be matched in the way we preach. What sort of encouragement to the pastor who's feeling tired and weak about what he's already had to do this week and add this and then looking forward to the other ones, what sort of things should he focus on and think about and work on within his own demeanor so that he matches the things in his own demeanor toward the tenor of each of those services, so that he's not coming and looks, completely overwhelmed, or he doesn't want to be there because, it's one more thing to do and he's kind of begrudgingly doing things. What sort of, I don't want to say like life hack or mind trick, but what sort of framework should the guy who's kind of feeling the weight of that, what should he work through with himself to kind of, get pumped up for the right reasons and to have the right kind of attitude?
I mean, I don't think there's anything other than the Bible itself greater than Chrysostom's sermon. I mean, his sermon for this is just so powerful. And a lot of guys just read that. They don't write they read it every year instead of writing a sermon. And I write a sermon, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's not a bad practice. And I think, that is a way that you could give yourself some relief. But even if you don't just read it out loud as a sermon, I mean, just to read it as part of your own preparation and to kind of think of that, help, then imitate that in some way. And I think the hymns also, the John of Damascus hymn, come ye faithful, raise the strain.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, or the golden sun ascending. I mean, there is just, I think we just use the word of God, but then also these other things around us and remind ourselves in a way that this is actually what it's all about.
Yeah.
And, the reason we got into this business, as it were, I mean, it can be tough. And of course there can be, if the congregation's in conflict or there's other injustices, tragedies, disasters in your life, external. I mean, there are at seasons when that happens and corresponds with Easter. And I think that it's appropriate to fake it, that it's appropriate to subdue your ego and your own emotional state and to play the part, right? To know what we're supposed to say on Easter and say it anyway, not as a real fake, but rather as a confession of what's real and what endures. And you can control what you say and how you behave to a large degree. And by doing so, you'll change the way you think and the way that you feel. So there are times in our lives when the ministry requires that kind of, faking it.
Yeah.
So if there are times when it is actually the right thing to do as a service to your neighbor, to not draw attention to yourself on Easter Sunday and the difficulties of the parish and of your own personal life. It's probably the right thing.
Right.
And instead to give a bold witness of the truth of the resurrection and to believe that is actually the thing that matters and that endures. And, this building's going to crumble and we're all going to die. This isn't going to last, but Jesus lives, that lasts. And that's what's real. And that's what's going to matter. So sometimes you gotta do you just got to do the kind of tough thing and the right thing against yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. I always look forward to the service far away. And then as it comes closer, I'm like, oh yeah, I've got this to do. And then after I'm done, I'm always really glad that we did it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel in a very similar way. I revel in it. I remember it, I have such great memories of it, but in the actual rehearsal and setup and preparation, it's a fair amount of work and it's tiring, but it is exhilarating usually. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your time, Dave. And we'll pick up next time.
All right. Thanks, Jason.